Okay, thank you. Because we have fallen,
Yes.
and because we will have conflict,
Yes.
and because conflict is inevitable,
Yes.
I would like to know how the church supports people to conflict resolve. And then after that, I'm going to ask you, as a mediator, what your experience in conflict resolution is, if you will.
The church, depending on which one you go to, or should I say, generally the church's role is to look after the flock of Jesus Christ. And we do that in many different ways. You know, we preach every Sunday. But I should say that is not necessarily enough. We have Bible studies, we have mothers' union meetings, we have men's meeting, we have young people's meeting. Where I come from, we have marriage outreach ministry for couples to take care of them. So there are very many avenues where people's needs are being met. What I would like to see, which is not necessarily always the case, is higher teaching, more concentration, because people need to hear. And let me tell you, what we hear on Sunday is not enough to keep us going. I need to understand that Christianity is not just about Sunday, that we need to live our Christian life on Monday and Tuesday and the rest of the week, including Saturday and Sunday. And we need to create support systems that help me to do more than come to church on Sunday, to get more, to help me becoming more of what God wants me to be.
Okay.
So my challenge to my colleagues in the ministry is that we become more intentional, we become more focused in helping people, whether we are talking about the young people, whether we are talking about the young adults, whether we are talking about the young couples, whether we are talking about the old couples. At each stage in life has its own challenges, and the church has a big responsibility to respond to those challenges and help people as much as possible. Is enough of that happening? I don't think so. This is not to condemn necessarily, but to encourage that we be on the lookout. You use the word stigmatization, which is true, that when people fail, we tend to reject them. That is not Christian. It is actually when somebody fails that they need the love of Christ more than ever before. So we need to also be on the lookout for those people whose marriages have failed. They need help. Those people who are caught up in all manner of other social problems, alcohol and whatever else that one may want to pick. It is then when somebody is down there that they need a lifting hand.
Thank you. But isn't the greatest demonstration of embracing such people having people who preach even though they may have gone through divorce, they may have gone through separation? Wouldn't that be the greatest demonstration? And those people stand there in the pulpit and say, I am divorced, I'm separated, as a case may be.
Absolutely. What I would want to see is how you take care of those, because it's just like an alcoholic. You cannot say because he drinks, I don't care. You know, he has missed it, he's fallen, or he's a thief. I don't care. No. There's that thief who needs you. I do not think that divorce is the biggest sin possible. It isn't.
But is it even a sin?
Well,
because this could be a perfectly good brother.
I do not know. Well, you know, every case on its own merit. I don't know why it happened, by and large. But what I'm saying is it's not the biggest problem that we can find. And the church ought to be concerned about them, because that is the one sheep that's lost. And Jesus left the 99 and went to look for that one. We need to move away from this holier than thou attitude and reach out to them because they need help. You know, many people get worried about me because of my insurance background. They do not quite think when I tell them I have had a big background in insurance and I am a priest, they cannot see how those two can be. because I believe those are two paths. One leads straight to hell, and the other one apparently leads straight to heaven.
But I was going to ask which of the above.
How will they hear?
Yes.
How will they hear? Our calling is to represent Christ and live for him wherever we might be.
Excellent. Very well said. And now, if you would share with us your experience as a mediator in conflict resolution and some lessons that you've picked along the way.
Well, one of the questions which come to me when people come to me is, what is mediation? And I tell them quickly that mediation brings people together to talk. Brings people together to talk. More often than not, perhaps in all cases, when marriages are in trouble, people stopped talking long time ago. So mediation is a very useful tool in helping people to come together. And I have seen it help couples over and over who otherwise would have been destroyed by litigation if they chose that route. What is my experience? I have, like I said, I have tried many things in my long and short life, and I know mediation works. And as some of you know, mediation is in that basket called ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution Mechanisms. It is alternative to what? It's alternative to litigation. And mediation has many advantages, not the least of which is you deal with issues and you deal with emotions. Marriage is more about emotions. And even when you go to court and you have not dealt with emotions, you get nowhere. All you do is repeat each other more and destroy each other more. So I have found mediation as a safe place for couples to come and talk. And we will deal with issues and also deal with emotions. I dealt with one yesterday. And the lady has been hurt so deeply that it didn't matter what you wanted to solve. If you didn't appreciate that she was wounded and very deeply so, you'll get nowhere. And they may go and divorce and fight, but they'll be wounded even more, because litigation will not deal with emotions. So I have found mediation as a safe place where people can come and talk and deal with their issues, but also address the emotions that have put them apart. I have seen almost miracles happen when what appeared to be completely impossible to solve get solved, and people begin to talk and agree that indeed they can give their marriage a chance. I don't know what else you want me to say.
No, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot.
So I would recommend anybody that's listening, if you're having challenges, and we said it is not if you have challenges in your marriage.
It is when.
We said it's when, because it will happen. It is always good to give mediation a chance. Of course, you need to go to someone who is qualified, someone who is better prepared. A mediation is a profession, and you need a professional to help you walk through with the help of someone who obviously will remain neutral, but help you to sort out the issues, discover what the problem is. You know, many people try and solve problems without knowing what exactly they are solving, and that becomes a big problem. Mediation has three basic phases. Phase one is discover what the real problem is, and you will not move until you discover what the real problem is. Phase two is negotiate. Now that we know what is killing us, can we talk about it and see how we can meet, or where we can meet based on our interests? And then, of course, the third part is agreement. That's a very basic process. It is a very simple process, but certainly not simplistic.
Thank you. But Reverend, what is the success rate in mediation?
Well, that question is from a legal practitioner, and let me tell you why. In court, you have win and lose. And you know you have won the case if you get what your client was looking for. So I try to move away from that in mediation because mediation is not in that premise of win and lose. It is more a win-win. To use the word success means that people came, they were not talking, and now they are talking.
Yes.
Okay? If that is the measurement of success, then we could say probably about 70% people who are away from each other, they begin talking. But success in mediation, or rather the outcome of mediation, is not measured that way. Mediation can have three outcomes. And one is full agreement. You come to the table, you identify five issues, and you walk away having solved the five of them. That's full agreement. It can be partial agreement. They brought 5 issues to the table. They were able to solve 3. And they're happy. And they may say, these are the 2, we will wait. Or look for other ways of resolving them. That's partial agreement. Or it can be no agreement. But in talking through, they have understood better, and probably they have dealt with their emotions better. They are better equipped to live, whether they live together or decide to move apart. So is that successful?
Yes, it is.
Precisely.
Success.
Now I can see you are beginning
so
to
where
understand.
I'm seeing it from, thank you, that is success. The fact that people have been able to ventilate,
absolutely,
but most of all,
that's right,
to hear one another,
that's right,
which hardly happens at home.
And so that is so important, to hear one another. I have discovered part of the problem in our relationships, particularly couples, is people don't listen to each other. And I have done, I remember vividly one matter I did for a very old couple. I think they were in their 70s and they were in the Court of Appeal for divorce. And they were sent to me from the judiciary. And when we talked, of course, there are rules to the ground rules. One of them is that everybody will have a chance to talk, which is hearing. I can hear what you're saying because I must keep quiet. When we went through the first session and I gave her a chance, I gave her a chance to express herself fully. The next day, which I always do, I called her, I said, Rose, not her real name, what do you think we achieved yesterday? And she quickly said, I spoke, I was listened to, and I got healed.
Excellent.
I got healed. We have not dealt with their matter,
excellent,
but I got healed. And that to me underlines the fact that some of the problems, some of the biggest problems we are dealing with in marriages are emotional.
Completely. And so I ask the question again.
Yes.
If we agree that even just that ventilation, the ability to hear one another is success, what is the success rate in mediation?
I would say even over 80%, depending on how you manage it. I mean, there are people who will not want to talk.
Indeed.
And there's nothing you can do.
Indeed.
But to my judgment, or my estimation is 80% get a measure of healing.
Okay.
Simply because they came and they listened to each other.
Excellent.
You will discover that it's not just, communication is many things to many people. And we keep quiet, we don't talk to each other. Or we say words and we think probably the other person heard, but they didn't hear you.
Okay.
And people need to be helped to understand that there is a spoken word and they need to hear each other talk. There is the tone of voice. You can get to tell where somebody is at by the tone of voice and also the volume and the pitch. I can tell whether this person is healing or not healing. But the greatest level of communication is body language. That people are able to sit and you can tell where they're going. They're going with this. I saw it yesterday. I saw the couple move through those 3 phases of communication, and they agreed to save their marriage.
It was visible, the process.
It was visible, yes it was.
Thank you.
It was. I saw the woman smile for the first time.
Reverend, this has been a great discussion. But I want to just ask 2 more questions. Then we'll let you go for the day. One is the marriage vows, the ones that are said in church.
Right.
I wonder whether they have stood the test of time, and wonder whether there could be an edit to them to represent the circumstances of the times we live in.
I don't think so, because marriage is supposed to be a permanent covenant, and the marriage vows present that situation. It's a permanent a covenant, one man, one woman for life. I think your question is informed by what I call relative thinking, that we should change with time. But there are things which really don't change, and one of those is the Word of God. It will remain changeless. And the marriage covenant is meant to be a permanent relationship. So going back to your question, should we change them? What are they? These vows say the woman looking at the man, I take you to be my lawful wedded husband, to have and to hold and to keep, for better, for worse, in sickness, in health, for richer, for poorer, till death do us part.
The reality out there is that conflict does us part.
Absolutely.
Many times.
Yes.
So would that help if, instead of just saying in sickness and in health and in richness and in poverty, we also say,
what do you want us to say?
Even in inevitable, even in the inevitable conflict.
Yes. Then, of course, you get into the world of relative thinking, and then we are not talking about marriage.
That's where
marriage as God intended. What I think we ought to help those who wish to get into this union and understand is that this is a permanent arrangement. It's not something you do when you're drunk and you don't know exactly what you're saying or what you're doing. It's not something that you're forced to do by your relatives simply because they think you're too old now that you must get married. No. We need to understand this was, by the way, it is God's design. Marriage was not a human being's idea. I know you tell me you fell in love, whatever that means. But marriage is God's plan for humanity. And it was meant to be, it is meant to be a permanent covenant. So I will not change the vows, because the vows communicate what God intended for the couple. What I will do is to help people understand. You see, when they say in sickness and in health, oftentimes they're thinking about health, not sickness. But sickness is part of life. When they say for richer, for poorer, they are often thinking about richer. And this man you are marrying will probably never get rich.
Or the woman might.
The woman might. I have no problem with that. I know where you're coming from. But that will be the reality. Are you willing to live with that reality? In sickness and in health, you're thinking about health, not sickness. And you know what? Coming from the honeymoon, you may just get involved in a road accident and become paraplegic. Am I willing to look after her for the rest of my life? And really, that is the test. So this is presenting an absolute that God intended. And we cannot move from that and then claim to be in marriage.
Okay. Thank you, Reverend. Now, my final question to you.
Yes, Judy.
As you said, families have many challenges. The society is facing many challenges. And by society, I'm not even talking about the Kenyan society. I'm talking about the world society. Is there something that we can do to reinvent the wheel of this society?
There's a lot that can be done. The question is, are we willing to? There's a lot that needs to happen. We need to move away. We need to teach the right things. The church and every leader in the society needs to accept we have a role to build a society with wholesome values. You cannot isolate just the married people and say, these are for them. No, We need a society which is propagating wholesome values. And they're not difficult, you know, they are all there in the scripture, hard work. And how many young people today, those who are getting married, truly believe that you can make it in life by working hard? We need to go back there. Integrity, which is defined by those who teach those things as doing at night what you can't do or during daytime. Or is it the other way? Yes, doing the right thing when nobody is watching. That is integrity. Are we willing to teach integrity in marriage and in the society? Respect for others, you know? Are we willing to? So the thing is not to water down values so that we accept the world of relative thinking, because that only leads to trouble. The thing is to raise the bar and be willing to pay the price for the right values in the society. And every one of us has a responsibility to propagate those values, more so the church, because it remains the conscience of the nation. Now, perhaps the question you may want to ask me is that, are we always careful to teach the right things? And the answer is we are not. And the church needs to wake up to that reality that it is a conscience of the nation, of the people.
Thank you, Reverend. As I finish, I want to ask you, can the church lead in swimming against the tide?
That is our calling. Are we willing to do that? We are called not to move with the society, but to take the society, to move the society where it ought to go. Are we willing? We have the scripture to move the society. You know, the entire movement called faith is to swim against the current. Are we willing? Now, the fact of the matter is that there is a price to pay. Are we willing to pay the price? Are we willing? Am I willing to say, I will not be bribed? I will be truthful and faithful to my marriage. Am I willing to say that? Are we willing to work for what is right? Am I willing to grow wealth from the sweat of my brow? Am I willing to work hard? Am I willing, if I'm in a position of responsibility, to give responsibility based on merit? Am I willing to do that? Those are the values we need to bring back, not to water down.
Wonderful. And I just want to go back to a phrase you have spoken to.
Yes.
Making it in life.
Yes.
Can we redefine that phrase?
Precisely. Precisely. We've got to understand that the real essence of life is not material, which is where we are largely. And they did a little research not too long ago at one of the universities. I will not tell you which one in this country. And they asked the undergraduate students whether they believe that somebody, how somebody can get rich in this day and age. And they said through corruption. Now, those are the leaders. And then we begin screaming that our society is rotten. We've got to move away from this belief that all that matters is material. And by the way, there's a guy who went that route. And he got involved in all manner of things to create material wealth, to get into politics, to get married. And he didn't marry just one woman. He married 700, and then he had 300 on the side. And you know who I'm talking about, yes? King Solomon, the conclusion was always vanity and chasing after the wind. This society needs to know this thing we call the appetite or the weakness for the good things of life is a hoax. And it will get us nowhere. And we need to know that life is much more than material. He said always vanity and chasing after the wind. Later on in his life, he said everything has been hard. This is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandment. We need to go back to God.
We need to go back to God. Indeed, indeed. By word and by deed.
Yes, more so by deed.
Indeed. And those who profess to have the strength to do that.
What do you mean, profess to have the strength?
Those of the cloth. Those of the cloth. But here's my last one. Here's my last one.
Yes.
Single moms and single dads.
Yes.
Do they have a place in church?
Absolutely. And why should they not? We talked about stigmatizing people.
Yes.
This is a human being who may have a problem, and that's when they need you more than ever before, because they have a problem.
Well, what's the problem they have?
In the church.
But what's the problem they have?
Well,
they're just single moms and single dads.
According to the church, the reason why you're asking me that question is because they have not found a place.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm simply saying we are being very hypocritical in not embracing them. If we think they have a problem, then we should know they need us more than ever before.
And then we need to go to that point where we think that they do not have a problem just because they're single.
The society, no. The problem is not being a single mother, because in the first place, do you know, they took a woman to Jesus and they said she was caught in the very act, and they had rocks in their hands to stone the woman. What did Jesus tell them?
He who has.
He who
throw the first stone.
Has no sin, stone her, throw the first stone. They all left. But the other bigger question there is, where was the man?
Yes.
If he was caught in the very act, where is the man?
He was not being stoned.
And somebody has suggested it was one of these people who were trying to stone her.
No.
It's all wrong.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. This has been a great chat, a great conversation.
Thank you.
I hope we can have many more.
We will. Why not? Let's keep talking.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
It's my greatest pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me and for putting up what I think is a very useful program for the society, so that we may begin to talk about values and also raise the problems, because oftentimes we sit on problems and hope that they will go away. They don't.
And that, friends, is our third season. At the beginning of our third season of Family with Judy. That was our great and Reverend and mediator. We hope you enjoyed listening to him. Thank you.